was just one of those things that you have this picture that you imagine this is exactly how things are going to be, and it's never exactly like that. Our bank account got compromised in the middle of us purchasing a house. He wanted lasting change. He didn't want just something that was going to be a here today, gone tomorrow. I have a son and I have a daughter. I don't believe either one of them should make more money or have this or that based on their gender. It should be based on our merit.
Hi, and welcome to the Ordinary Brave podcast. And today I'm with one of my awesome friends, Clarissa Williams, and we're in the Shinecast studios today for this podcast. And we are excited to share her story of bravery and all the ways that the Lord has used her in the land of media. Clarissa, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited for y'all to be here and get to see our new studio.
Well, it's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Y'all have done a wonderful job with it.
Herbert tells me this is an outlet for me because I like to be creative in all things, and I get to decorate and change it up.
You are very creative. I've been in your office and seen all your collections. So what all do you collect?
Well, my favorite thing I collect is advertising icons. I've collected those since I was a little girl. I have the first original E.T., but I have a variety of those. Probably out of that collection, I love the 1950s-ish Snap, Crackle, Pop. Mm-hmm. But I also have a bell collection that I've collected since Herbert and I got married. Every year we add a bell. We usually find those in like antique stores. Mm-hmm. We also like records, so we're a collector of collections.
A little bit of everything. Well, I should probably start and make sure we introduce you and everything about you. So you and your husband, Herbert, have started a new media outlet in here, but you also have, I'm going to make sure I say them all, Shine Messengers, mm-hmm. Cookeville Now, Highlands Insider. Am I leaving a couple out?
We also have Reeves and Williams Publishing Group, which is traditional newspapers in 6 states. We have 11 of those, so Highlands Insider makes number 12.
Wow, you guys are busy.
We are, but you know what? We're having fun, and I just turned 50 in January, and I probably would have never imagined this, but I always think that when you look back over life, you can see how God positioned you in different times, where it really does become a testimony after the test, and you can see all of the ways that he connects the dots and does things that is always good.
Now, with your career in, I'm going to call it mass communications, but mm-hmm. I know your emphasis has really always been more in like journalism. Mm-hmm. You've lived in a lot of different places. So besides Cookeville, what's mm-hmm. one of your most favorite places that you've lived?
Oh, I would say, that's such a tough one. I have friends everywhere. I love all of you. But I'm going to say probably Delaware. I love the sun and the sunshine and the happiness in Florida. But Delaware was an area where it wasn't just about your everyday life and where you want to go eat, but that's really where I think I felt called more to ministry mm-hmm. and got to be involved in local missions, which really involved working with homeless populations, ministry and outreach to youth, and a lot of different things that, for me, that was probably one of the very best times in life.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think I've told you before, but I'm trying to take my kids to visit all 50 states, mm-hmm. and we visited Delaware a few years ago, and we stopped in the capital there, and we got to hear the history of Delaware, which I found fascinating, and of course, the man's name is not coming to my brain.
Caesar Rodney, probably.
Yes, he rode on horseback.
Yes.
All the way to get the signature there for independence. And so I was so fascinated by that story. And the lady who was telling it said, I think he might have even had cancer or mm-hmm. something in his face. And she was describing all of that to us. It was just a very interesting story. And all these years, I had no idea that Delaware was that crucial piece.
It was the first state, mm-hmm. and the staff there made sure I knew that. And my children were in school there. And I remember when I heard about Caesar Rodney, it was not because of the historical significance, but because of my kids saying, "Oh, we have a holiday tomorrow." And I'm like, "You're not getting out of school." And it ended up being Caesar Rodney Day. And they were very excited because they had not had a Caesar Rodney Day. So it was a great way for the kids to learn about that part of history.
Well, it was a fascinating story, and I just love we toured the town, and it really was a cool place. I can see why you enjoyed it being there. So you mentioned your kids. Tell us a little bit about your children.
So I have 2 children. Bethany is my daughter. She's the oldest, and she is now 30. And she is like social butterfly. She is very creative. And
Surprise, surprise.
I know my mom is my mom and dad both are very artistic. My mom used to teach art, and both in public education, but then also at the University of the Cumberlands. So, and my dad did signs, and he would do comics and stuff like that. And my daughter is very much like that. Like someone can say to her, "Can you draw this? And can you do this?" And she did one of the portraits we have in the office of our light bulb with the cross in it. And she's just very gifted. She can draw both freehand. She can do things with spray paint. She can do things on a computer.
Yeah.
All kinds of other things that I really don't know and wouldn't even try to explain. My son, on the other hand, is Cameron. He's our CTO. Bethany lives in Nashville now. Cameron lives here in Cookeville. He is in his final year at TTU, and he is extremely, I'm going to say, analytical, smart, knows he always gets aggravated when I say this, but he knows all the things about code. I'm going to say he knows all the things about coding that I don't, which is a whole lot. But he loves science and math, and we were very excited when he got through his calculus something class. And it's the first time I remember someone coming to me and saying, "I really want this class. TTU is offering," I believe it was something with physics and not calculus, but something else. And the name sounded like that would be awful for me.
Yeah.
But he was like, I got in. So he's excited about that. But all of the technology and things, usually I will see something on YouTube. We're big YouTubers, Herbert and I. And we will watch something, and I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then I'll buy something and say, "Here, Cameron." And he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I saw this." He's like, "Stop buying things. I don't know if that'll work with our stuff." So we do a lot of returns.
Yeah.
But he loves gaming, and he has built some gaming things. I'm not going to try to explain those, but he is also like my mom and dad because he can be creative in a very different way. So when the two of them are together, one of the goals that we have when we purchased the newspaper company, the traditional one, about a year and a half ago, was to find a way to gamify newspapers so that we can bring new people in and that they can learn how we can develop and engage readers in a different way, but still revitalize traditional print.
That's a genius idea. And there's so many, you would just reach a whole network of people that probably aren't really being reached
Yes.
with journalism. So that is awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about Herbert and how y'all met, and then we're going to jump in and talk more about journalism.
So Herbert is my rock. He's my better half. He keeps me grounded. We're both visionaries, but he is much more of the hold back a little bit. Everything I want to do it like the best, and just, I always say, bigger, brighter, better. But he and I met in college, and I still remember the first day I saw him. He was walking across campus singing a Boyz II Men song. And I told my best friend, Edie, who's from New York, I was like, "Hey, who's that guy?" And we started dating, and he would work with the basketball team and record like the games and do all these different things. He was their manager in his senior year. He was an upperclassman. I was a freshman, so I told him he was robbing the cradle. But I played tennis, and he would come to all my tennis practices and tennis matches. And then we ended up getting married. And this year we celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, you guys have just a depth of experience, and I've had the privilege of talking to you, and you shared different stories, and I just highly recommend to people, if they're listening, they want to get to know you, come talk to you, because you've got some really great stories to share just about all of your life experiences. Maybe tell us about one of your most difficult experiences you've ever faced in the journalism field, and maybe how your faith helped you through that.
Well, I would say probably there's a lot of things I can tell you about, and I can tell you exactly how Christ was with me in those moments. But probably the one that impacted me the most, that also tied to journalism, was when Herbert had a heart attack. We were living in Illinois, and I was the president and publisher and CEO of the state capital newspaper, and then some of our other newspapers kind of reported to me as well. And he had just been in the hospital. There's a long story behind it, but Herbert's very stubborn, for those that don't know. And I said to him jokingly one day, if you don't go to the doctor, I'm going to have an ambulance pick you up, because it sounded like he was coughing up a lung every day. And we had just moved. There were all of these things that had happened. Our daughter had moved out for the first time, so we were nervous and stressed. Her boyfriend was there at the time, and it was just one of those things that you have this picture that you imagine this is exactly how things are going to be, and it's never exactly like that.
Right.
And then our bank account got compromised in the middle of us purchasing a house. We were moving from a house to another one. So all these things, I could go on and on. But he went to the doctor, and he had found out he had a heart attack. So I basically got a phone call, ended up having to leave, go to the hospital, and they told me he likely will not make it out of the hospital this week.
Wow.
So it was very devastating. I remember sitting in my dining room exactly where I was, and I remember praying and calling out to God, like, please help me, please help him. I can't do this alone, because we'd been together longer than we'd been apart at that point in life. And as I remember that moment, I was sitting in the dark. Cameron was in middle school, so he was upstairs doing his homework. Bethany had already moved out, and I'm just sitting there crying and praying and asking God, please, I need you to do something. It was almost like I was bargaining with God. And in the same time frame, I was supposed to speak. Now, people that know me know I am not a fan of public speaking in front of large groups. Like, I can do it, and once I get going, I'm fine, but there's just something, I don't know what it is. I think it was when I was growing up, it was like be seen and not heard. So I remember preparing for a speech on volunteerism, and I was going to talk about Harry Truman and all this stuff. And it was really a cool venue. I was speaking where Abraham Lincoln had served as an attorney, and we were at the appellate courthouse, and just all the history and significance. And I was in my dining room, and I was working on my prepared speech, and I just turned the lights off, and I started praying, and I was sitting at the table, and it was almost like I would sit here, and then I would sit over here, and I was just like in the dining room praying, and I was probably in there for hours. And I remember distinctly God saying, he's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. The next day I got up, I delivered my speech, except I changed it, and I talked about how Jesus gave the ultimate sacrifice, and that ties to volunteerism as well. It was totally, I'll have to tell you that story some other time, but it was a great moment. In the midst of all of that, we had all kinds of things going on within the company I worked at. And I had written an editorial about bipartisanship, we had a major budget shortfall. And I had talked about how we needed to have people working together and not having people pay these massive amounts of taxes and really getting nothing in their infrastructure, and just thing after thing, it was broken. And I remember having a lot of people that were not happy, and having people that were angry to the point that my tires got slashed from some potential state government people. And I just continued. I did not stop. Well, Herbert's released from the hospital. He's wearing his external defibrillator. If anyone hasn't heard of that, it's called a life vest. He refused to wear it. I would come home and find it on the table when he was out jogging.
Oh, goodness.
It was terrifying. But in the midst of all of that, we also had different things going on in federal government. And we were given editorials and different things. We used to call them talking points. And I said, I'm not going to publish this. I'm not going to publish that we as a publication endorse this. And it was same-sex marriage. Now, for those that don't know, my daughter is gay. She came out, told my husband and I this. So she knows our belief is a biblical-based definition of marriage. But my daughter is my best friend. There's nothing anybody can do or anything she can do that will separate that, just like there's nothing that I can do that separates God from loving me.
Right.
And I always tell people when I talk to them that we all have different things that we don't do right, and none of us get it right. But in that moment, I had to make a decision, and I often fall back on Nehemiah, and because I really feel like that is a leader that I connect with, because he wasn't seeking a title. He would observe situations. He would look at things and see what was broken and how would he fix it. And he wanted lasting change. He didn't want just something that was going to be a here today and gone tomorrow. So in that situation, I remember distinctly saying, we are not going to do that. However, I will give you the opportunity, to my executive editor, I will give you the opportunity to do a point and counterpoint. We'll do 50% for, 50% against. And that way, we aren't giving that as a publication, but someone else is giving that part of it. And when they give that part of it, they're able to say, here's what I believe. And it's their belief, and they represent that belief system. And we would have both sides, which is what I believe true community journalism is all about. Well, in that situation, I got fired because I would not do exactly what I was supposed to do.
Well, you took a stand on your morals and beliefs.
Yes. And if you had told me then I would own my own media company today, I would not have believed you. But I would do the same thing then, and I would be a little bit smarter because I would know what I was going to be facing. But I remember exactly how it happened. And I had a really tight-knit team. We had over 400 employees. We had multiple contractors. We had a 60,000 square foot building that we had revamped. And we had worked really hard to bring the life of that publication back. And we did well. We had one of the highest read publications in the state. A lot of the TV stations would follow us. And if you have to edit this part out, I'll tell you this story, and you can edit it if it's not appropriate for your viewers. But I was scheduled to receive an award the next day on women leadership, and the day after I was fired. And I remember walking in and telling the group of women, because I couldn't accept it any longer, hey, I appreciate everybody. And I could tell everybody was talking about it and kind of whispering about it. And I said, I already know. I'm sure you all saw the photo of me because our competitor had done a cartoon of me being pushed off of the balcony of my office with a Bible under one hand and a no gaze on that little circle with the line through it. And I said, I know everybody saw the picture of me. I need to get a new bra. That's obvious, and that was not the most flattering picture. So I usually try to approach things with humor, especially in those types of situations. But I think God expects us to love people well and to find ways to forgive people. I forgive everybody that did anything wrong. I want to know that when I die, that God will say, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
Yes, yes.
Because if I do it the right way, I work to honor Him, I've done it the right way the whole time.
Yes. Well, I love how you relate to Nehemiah. I feel like in my own walk, it's been like that for me. When we started our nonprofit, it was really time in the Word in Nehemiah, where the Lord was like, "This is what I'm calling you to do. I'm calling you to start this ministry that's going to serve orphans and people, women in trafficking in India." And I was really taken aback. But the more I just spent time in God's Word, He would just use Nehemiah to show me, like, it just comes in little pieces. And I love that book. But I also love the stance that you have taken. And I love what you said about we have to love people well. How do we do that today, Clarissa? I find it hard. I mean, I find my own struggles in that. You know, people attack me and people I love for our beliefs, and I want to represent Christ and love them well. How do we do that?
I think I have a son and a daughter, and I tell people all the time, I was always a big champion of equal rights, equal pay, those types of things. I'm not a feminist, but I do believe everyone deserves equal pay and equal rights. So I would always use the example, like, I have a son and I have a daughter. I don't believe either one of them should make more money or have this or that based on their gender. It should be based on our merit and how hard we work. Well, I believe that God calls us to basically die to self. We have to admit that we are not perfect. We are sinners. We're all sinners. And just because I may sin differently than someone else doesn't make, mine may not be something everybody sees. And I think we all have those things. You know, there's pride. There is gossip. There is adultery. There's fornication. There's not being sober. It's just so many different things that we could point to. But there are things that just, I think society and different groups try to keep people divided. And I think that when that happens, you have so many opportunities to hate, or you can find ways to love. And we don't have to agree. And I will be the first one to say we can agree to disagree. And I know that term is overused, but I think it's really important, because if you agree to disagree and you can accept that I'm not going to believe the same as you, the only difference I believe in a lot of these cases is, as a Christian, we are not afraid to say, here's what we believe. And we really want you to believe the same thing that we do, because we know that after we die, there is an eternity, and the decisions we make today will impact. If you are a Christian, you're either going to spend eternity in heaven, or if you are not, my belief is you will be in hell. Now, that doesn't mean that we're all going to be perfect and that we never mess up, and because that's why we die to self daily, and we have to repent daily, and we have to ask God to forgive us. And I always tell people, you know, I'm always thinking of James and Thessalonians and different places where often we see pray without ceasing. And if we're in prayer, our mind is going to be more controlled by what we should be. If we are always looking for ways to be upset, then that's where our mind is going to be.
And that's easy.
Yes, it is.
Or at least for me.
It is.
You know, you don't have to look hard to figure out ways to be upset. But I also find just being in the Word regularly, it's really important to me. It helps me stay very grounded and keeps just the Lord's messages to me in the forefront of my mind, and also keeps things from coming out of my mouth.
Yes.
That should not come out. I am a big proponent of civil discourse. I think that we've gotten way far away from that. And I do think there's maybe a slight return of it coming with people like Charlie Kirk, you know, initiating all of that. And we see that movement continue to grow across campuses, high school campuses, college campuses. And I think it's important that we can disagree. Like you said, we can disagree, but we need to be able to do it civilly and without thinking because you agree or you think differently than me that you are a bigot or
Yes,
a fascist or a racist or just all the things. And then the other side too, going the other way. We need to be able to have this civil discourse. I think it's something important.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you guys have an exciting announcement that's
Yes.
coming up, and I want you to share that. Or before we do that, just give us a short, brief, how did the Highlands Insider come about?
Well, Highlands Insider started after we purchased the other newspapers. So we were figuring out how to have a newspaper in multiple states. It's different if you're in Tennessee because we were already here, but we didn't have our LLCs and DBAs and foreign entities and all of these other things set up in multiple states because, well, we never had to. So we were very quickly learning how to do that. Our CFO is in Wisconsin, and he was really helpful in helping us with a lot of those projects as well. But I guess it was around October of last year, we started seeing different news stories happening, and then we heard other things, and I would see things and I would think, oh, why don't we have this or why don't we have that? I really wish that we had this in the paper here, or I wish we had this in media. And I like to do things that aren't the same as everybody else. I like to make sure that what we offer is a fresh perspective. We're very transparent. We tell people right on our About Us page that we are conservative. We started out thinking we would be middle of the road. And then we were like, well, everybody that knows us knows we're conservative. So we're just going to be who we are and go from there. Mm-hmm. We decided, we were driving down Broad Street, and we were right in front of the courthouse, and I remember praying in my mind to God, like, why isn't anybody doing something about all this stuff that's happening? And there's just, in my opinion, one-sided journalism, and I was seeing it from a variety of sources, and I was really frustrated about it. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, God's like, you're going to do that. So Herbert and I talked about it, and he's like, okay, let's go. So we started doing focus groups. We brought people in. We said, who do you think this would benefit? And here's what we're thinking. And we had some ideas. That's one of the first places I met you, was in the focus group. And people loved the idea. We changed it a little bit here or there. Initially, we said we're going to be in Putnam, Jackson, Overton, and White County. Since then, we have decided to start with Putnam County and then expand out because we just didn't have the resources to do that or the time to expand that fast.
Well, and you're already managing all the other publications that you have.
Yes. So we, it's one of those things that we love being able to connect communities with resources. We love being able to tell stories. And we have always believed that journalism, especially community journalism, should be truthful. It should be transparent, and we believe that equals trust. Mm-hmm. And if you have those components, then you've done a good job. We don't always get to every story, and I'm kind of old school in the fact that I always want to be the first to find out about it and the first to report about it. But then I started realizing that scooping someone isn't as important today as it was pre-social media. So we offer live streams for most meetings, and you can't get much faster than a live stream. And you can't put words in someone's mouth if you have the live stream of exactly what they said. So we believe in being completely transparent, offering everything that we can within the resources that we have. And as we grow, we are looking at advertisers right now, and we hope we can find support in that community. But as we grow through that, we're able to do more. Once we have grown past our big announcement of print coming out in January, we have a lot of people that keep calling us. We've had people actually showing up here to the office wanting to buy the paper in print, and the girls are like, I told them we didn't have it yet. So we will be offering that in January. Then we will be offering town halls. We will be offering forums. We are in an election year, so we will also have Guide to the Polls and things like that. but beyond just the election, because the election is going to happen and then we're on to other things. So we want to capture the vision of the community and really help build upon community. And having ways that unite people rather than divide people is what our goal is.
So how can the community, if they are not already a subscription holder to the Highlands Insider, how do they do that? How do they get a subscription?
It's really easy. We have highlandsinsider.com. You can go, and at the top it says subscribe, and you click the button, and it's super simple. You fill out information. You can choose to get print and online for $69 a year, or you can get online only for $39.
Super affordable.
Yes.
We are subscription holders in our house. In fact, I think we found out we were the first people to ever subscribe. Which
Herbert has that list, and I told him, I was like, I don't know how he has a memory, like, I don't know, except for when I ask him very specific things. He's like, oh, that person is a subscriber, and we'll be in a conversation, and he'll say, thank you for subscribing. I'm like, how do you know that?
Yes. Well, I know you're a competitive person, and you said you like to be the first. Well, I'm that way. So look at there. Look at there. We were the first subscribers. Well, I appreciate just the way you live out your life with those words that you said, just with truth and transparency and trust. And it's very evident that you've had to take stands for your faith over the years, and that you've also been brave as a mom, and been brave in your career, and now you guys are stepping out in the community. Have you had a good response?
Oh my gosh. I've never had people call me. We just did a special that will be coming out in December. So this will probably come out after that publication, but hopefully you guys have a chance to look at the nativity story. It will still be on the site. But we had people calling us saying, hey, I heard about this project. I want to advertise in it. And it's something different because we know, or at least we haven't seen the digital flip books here. We haven't seen the video components, the QR codes that gives the reader ease of use. So there's a lot of different pieces of technology that go into it. And then by the time we do this again next year, we will have the printed version. So people will get to see the whole thing, and then next year will be an even bigger and better one. But we're really super excited to have all these different pieces coming together.
Well, I'm excited about the print, but I'm very excited about all the digital that you all offer. For me and my lifestyle as a mom of 6, to be able to just quickly look at something on my phone or my computer, I like that access. So I appreciate you all making that available and making it easier just to get news media and information here about our community.
Well, and I'm glad you said that because I forgot one of the companies we also own is Hometown Digital Marketing Agency. I also have CW Media and PR, and I've helped clients everything from your mom and pop business to Publix, that is the grocery store chain. So Herbert and I have worked with a lot of people in different avenues of whether it was building websites to building apps to just helping people. And we brought that technology and that knowledge and injected it into our newspaper. And I think that's why people love it so much.
Yes. Well, what about businesses or anybody local who wants to purchase an ad? Do they still go to that same website?
Yes, and you can email team@highlandsinsider.com, and that's Highlands with an S, because we know that there are people that we have already talked to that they're like, how do we do this? How do we support you all? And we've got great rates. At least that's what I've been told. We've been told that our rates are phenomenal. And we also have multimedia components. So a lot of times what we would hear on the digital side of things when we were just the digital marketing agency, they didn't understand what they needed or even what it meant. So we would take all of the things in the digital world, like nobody's going to talk code. And I would often tell people, you don't want something that just sells all the time, because none of us are watching QVC and none of us are going to want to be sold to all day long. So you take that information, you inject it into the whole blueprint, and you take their business and what their perfect customer is, and we build ecosystems that just deliver all of those avenues.
Well, it's amazing what you all do, and we thank you so much for taking the time to just let me chat with you today, especially during this busy season. I appreciate just, again, the way you live your life. And, this podcast is called The Ordinary Brave. And honestly, everybody I interview, I never think they're ordinary at all. But it's really just about the Lord using us where we are and in those moments. And it's very evident that He's used your life in amazing ways. And we thank you for what you're doing here in the community.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for doing this podcast, because I think people get an opportunity to hear. I love to hear all the stories that you guys are sharing.
Well, we have some amazing people that live here, and being a pastor's wife in town, I get to meet a lot of people and hear those stories, and that's really kind of how the podcast birthed, is I thought I really want to share these stories, with our community. Well, thank you again, Clarissa.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to The Ordinary Brave today and being a part of our podcast. If you are enjoying what you're hearing, please like and share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.